5. This is the July 24th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Water Commissioners, the Katuitt Fire District. Is there any public comment?
Mr. Chair, would you like me to address the people now?
At your convenience, now is fine, if it's okay for the rest of the commissioners.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Patty Lee, 45 Manfield Drive, Katuitt. Currently a member of the ad hoc committee on the Katuitt Elementary School that was formed by the Credential Committee. And we are assisting with drafting a scope of work for the RFP to study this. Consistent with Article 2 from the special district. I think that's what the preliminaries. So we've been working on a scope of work this committee, and one of the things that's come up, and in part because Commissioner Sherwood came to one of our meetings, and these discussions have been happening as well, but whether we include in the scope a task to look at potential site improvements for water quality benefit. So I drafted what is task 3 and shared that through Jen with you. So I basically put in there anything I could think of. I think that the general thought was, is there anything we could do to potentially mitigate the parking on town property and or the school property? And I haven't looked at the zone of contribution, but I assume where the town property is drains to the wellhead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we did nothing, that's fine too. But so we look at things like pervious pavement. PRB has been mentioned. We can catch, BOCs that might be floating towards the wellhead. And then other things like just anything generally to catch nitrogen, including a PRB, phyto remediation, which as we know, pollutants. So I'm here to ask you all if that is something you would like me to pursue as a task in the scope of work. And you may need to do some advocacy, because I'm not sure the Credential Committee, based on their last comments, it seemed to think this was important because, depending on what happens at school, and I did point out that I thought the zone of contribution is probably larger in the parking areas of towns. So that's kind of where we're at.
I have one thought, Chairman. So I guess, Patty, thanks for bringing that up. I did look at some of those things a while back, and I think I may have even written an email along those lines, but I think it's a good idea. Second of all, just a reminder, I think the line kind of runs through the property, not all of it is in. So the front section, fronting on the road, I always forget what road that is. Yes, thank you. So, I mean, one, just kind of taking that into consideration, might be possible to relocate the septic out there, for example, get it outside.
This doesn't have any-
This one shows getting right here.
Yeah, all
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, this is the zone all the way down.
And where's the school?
This is
right there.
Right on.
yeah, so probably not enough.
So we can ask.
I think looking at this map is more. Maybe more. That's just the other one.
I assume you guys can share your talk maps with the consultant.
Yeah. We have to go by what. So. Yes, yeah, right. And I mean, the only other possibility would be if there's an opportunity to connect, if there is any kind of a treatment system put in there, would be to connect other homes that are in the zone to like a cluster system, see if that's potentially financially viable. I tend to think not, but who knows?
Okay.
So if we have the money for somebody to look at that, that wouldn't hurt. Those are my thoughts.
And I believe there's no, the oil tank has been removed from the
Yes.
furniture.
Yep.
If the building is used year round, it will need to be heated.
Mhm.
Do we have a point of view on natural gas versus oil versus?
Well, let's stay away from the oil.
Stay away from the oil.
Natural gas or heat pump, I think is what they were talking about. Potentially, but yeah,
But it's good to spell that.
Would it help you, Patty, if the board drafted a letter with sort of a list of concerns? We've gone on the record. Um. I believe last fall, at the first special meeting, of the Prudential Committee, outlining our concerns about, if a septic system is put in, we would prefer a IA system. I don't think we got into the permeable
yeah.
reactive barriers
That's
or.
new to phyto remediations.
I don't think we get into that either. Yeah,
So to answer your question, I would say yes, it would be very helpful, because we're focused on this right now. And I don't think they'll necessarily remember.
And you're on a tight deadline, I believe.
We are, so, well, our deadline is committee of August 15th, which is astounding. You're gonna get it done.
and what has to happen by August 15th?
We have to have a draft scope of work and evaluation criteria to the
Well,
Prudential
I will,
Committee that they are going to turn into an RFP.
I'll offer to put a brief letter together. I think like I said, I think I already drafted something a while ago, but I can update it if that's acceptable.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Terrific, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And I think it would help advance the cause.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? We don't have any further from the civic association.
We may online.
Water quality report.
All right, all bacteria samples came back really clear. We did do some sodium samples. That we got the results after the last meeting that we had. And they are here. A little lower than they've been in a while, but the average, yeah. But they seem to be kind of consistent, right around, within a 5 point.
Yeah.
Now, this report has a gap between 2019 and 2013, which coincides with a big jump. Or it seems like a big jump. We go from the teens to the 20s. At the bottom of the first pages. I mean, if you look at 2013, everything's prior to that, everything is in the teens, and then suddenly we jump.
Yeah, that's when we started, testing more often and everything. It was always under concern, but getting close. It seemed to go up a little every year.
Yep.
It's a good point, though. Why did it go up? It's a good
And
question.
why the gap between 13 and 19?
Yeah, is there missing data there, maybe?
I don't think
What's
that
the,
there's missing data. I think what happens is there wasn't had to be done from DEP.
is it not a required?
It wasn't no, it's not a required. We do it
Secondary.
voluntary.
I thought it was required on an occasional basis, but maybe not.
I think every 5 years or something like that. Yeah, something like that. And I'm not positive. I can look back and see, but we put down what we had in our file, at least there, and once DEP's gone to their EDEP, you can't go back that far.
Right. Well, you're absolutely right, Dave. It did go up. Right, what,
Actually, it was
11, 12, 13 in the early 2000s. So I wonder if there's any change in salting practices or. Don't know.
And it's also interesting that Station 5 seems to have the highest bids, but it's upgrading. Of the-
That's a good point. Although there is that development, right?
Yeah, there's a
Which we did reach out to.
Yeah, right, so they may.
And they may actually, they may use more than the town uses. But the state, it's very possible some of these private developments kind of, you know, overdose on it a little bit. So I think we did send a letter to them at one
Yeah.
point.
We did, and I want to say they sent back saying that they don't.
That they don't use salt.
They don't use salt, yeah.
That's my memory.
They sent back, they said, well, you know, that's one of the things they don't want to use it for, yeah.
Maybe their permit specified. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
and, I mean, we get their, septic report, or we get a report from their septic system every month.
Yeah.
So it's still not really on there, though. Makes me wonder what they might put in for, treatment, so they're in treatment at all.
I spoke to town councilor Gordon Starr offline. He's the water commissioner in Barnstable, I think. Or there has been. And he had told me that they're experiencing the same rise there. Wells. And I said, you know, if we could get all of the water districts, the town seems to want us to work more together. Collect the data of their sodium counts. Which I guess I'm volunteering to do, which is. And present it to the town council and say, what can the town do to decrease the use of sodium chloride or substitute calcium chloride? And if it's a question of cost, maybe all the districts could kick in a little bit to provide that extra cost. So if the town's paying X for sodium chloride and calcium chloride is X plus 20, and we could provide the 20. Not just Katuah, but the other districts. So just as a way to incentivize the town to just do something different.
Well, I thought Dan Santos told you that the state salts 28.
They do. But I see just as poor practices with the town. I told you about the
Oh, right.
salting the side streets when there's two people living there and nobody's home in the winter. You know, it's just out of control. So, yeah, we can't fight State Hall, but we can fight City Hall. So I'll volunteer to do that. See if I can get some data from the other superintendents. Would that be it, Chris?
Yeah, I might have some for you. At one point, I know Hans and I met at one point over in Hyannis, and Hans was just. He was, this is probably 10 years when we first started looking at this, and he was saying that his are unbelievable. He's got like 50s and 60s and stuff like that. And that it's just ridiculous how much, and he said it's a concern to them also.
Yeah. So, you know, we have a council that at this point is interested to hear from us. They've invited us twice in the past 6 months.
Sure.
So let's see if we can at least collect the data and then decide what to do with it.
I've accumulated some comps. I'll share with you.
You what?
I've pulled some comparatives for all the towns of the Cape.
Okay, all right, so that'll be helpful, and then I'll post it in Barnstable district.
Cool. Excellent. Any other water quality?
That's it for now.
Actually, one question I guess I have on this is we had Mark Nelson here, I can text him, I'll make sure he can get back to me about the fingerprinting. Wait a minute, hold on, he did? No, he hasn't gotten it. Remember we talked about doing the fingerprinting on the PFAS to see if he could figure out, we haven't heard anything back from him.
He texted me sent me an email with the presentation and everything we had the next day. Said he was gonna look into something else and he'd get back to me on it. We did talk about the different kinds of PFAS and PFOA and everything else. And you had mentioned to me also, I think last month, you were talking about what we had for levels in the report from Tom Camberry.
Yes, and the
I-
monitoring.
Yeah, I sent that to everybody.
Okay.
It's in that report. I think it was two of them that were over 5 or something like that at one point.
One of them
And
was-
P4 and PFOS, something like that was there. But most of our problem seems to be P4. I was looking around a little bit, and that's over the last few years, that's the one that seems to be over 2.
Okay.
In some places it's others, but you know, that's consistently at 4 and 1.
I think the monitoring well that's on the cell was even higher, is it 9 or something? 8?
Yeah, it was combined, I think, of 15 or something like that, so they were pretty high, 6 and 6 or something like that, 6.4. Yeah,
Well, I did get a text back from Mark earlier today, so I texted him in preparation for the
Yeah.
meeting. He did say he has not gotten the data yet to look at, so maybe.
So
Do
he
you have
needs-
his contact?
yeah, I'll give him a call.
I just thought to see what he's looking for. This was a nice offer for him to do that, and
Yeah,
I would
I'll,
suggest PFAS is probably one of our more serious concerns. So it'd be good to get whatever we can from him. If he's willing to do it.
If there's nothing else under water quality, superintendent's report.
Superintendent report read on 24th of July, 2024. In June of 2023, we pumped 23,074,000 gallons of water. In June of 2024, we pumped 22,817,000 gallons of water, for a decrease of 257,000 gallons. Had a little bit of rain this year. Last year, we didn't have much rain at all. So I'm kind of contributing to that. Really, there's not much to talk about in association news. In September, Mass Rural Water out at their places holding an event. It's a taste test and classes and everything else. And if you win that, you get to go to the nationals and everything else you be doing. And I started to go in the past to it. But the one time I did sign up to finally do it and everything else to get there, because it kind of interrupts with different things that are going on around here, was the time that we had the telephone hit. I mean, the E. coli hit, and I called the back, you guys don't want to taste my water. So, I kind of don't want to jinx myself again by saying I'll go. But, yeah, so there's not much going on besides a bunch of classes. So they're off on plenty of classes. On the general discussion, we didn't have any new services, replacement services in June. We did, Lewis Pond Road, we finished. It's all done over there. We've got to actually remove a couple of lead goosenecks over there, which was nice with the lead gooseneck inventory that we got going on. So we eventually have to do it anyways.
Sure.
So when we transferred them over to the new water main, so everything's done over there now. They're more than likely, we have to hold some money back because of paving. The town wants them to overlay it all the way down in the spring. I mean, in the fall, once everybody's gone, they don't like working the summer at all. So they want them to go back once everything's settled and repave, make sure everything's fine over there. So we're waiting on that. We did retain some money, like 10%, I think it was.
That's
something
like
like that.
11 grand.
Yeah.
Great.
Was that repaving included in the budget?
Yes, it might be a little bit more because the price that he put in was for, they had it as a saw cut on the edge of the road and just finish off the edge of the road. The town came in and said, we don't like that anymore. We want you to mill the other half up to the middle of the road and repave to the middle of the road. So it's a repave there and mill up to the side. So that if that's the case, they might have to put a larger bill in. We have a little bit over. I don't know if it's enough, but it's gonna take it off. If not, we can get it, no problem. The PFAS litigation that we're in. I have signed, our notice to be part of the DuPont and 3M. We had till a certain time this month. They actually extended it another 3 weeks to sometime next month, next month. But I talked to the lawyers, we're all set, we're in there, everything we have is there. Since then, I think I mentioned to you guys, they've come to an agreement with Tyco for a certain amount, which they're out right now to see if anybody wants to pop it. Yes, just leave it out for 3 months, then you can go back and everything. And they just last month settled with BASF. So I don't know how many more are out there, but this will be the fourth one that we'll be settling with at this point. So we're still going, and at some point, we're gonna start seeing the check.
What's your guessing on when that might happen?
I don't think it'll happen until after the first of the year, myself, and it'll be a monthly check. I believe that'll be coming in from some, to pay it off over 20 years or something.
Right.
Our W-2, problems that we have going on. I did talk to Ray this morning, they were gonna talk about it at the, Prudential Committee meeting, and I didn't get a chance to get there. The video isn't out yet, so I called him up, or I emailed him, and he told me that, the lawyer said he did not have any information on Friday. He would get to him by the end of this week. So he's got a couple of days left. He still hadn't heard from him by the end of today. So I really have nothing to report on that till next month.
Okay.
The other thing that I have here, we did send in our Kelly grant over at the compact. Sent me over a letter and we signed for the WS-26 application for conservation restrictions. Over on it has been sent into DEP, they accepted it, I got an acceptance letter from them, or email back, so everything's going on for the works there, so.
Great.
The DEP has to approve any position of land or interest in land held by the. So that's
Okay,
And do we gain a credit?
and I didn't do it on my own, by the way, I emailed somebody else, one of the water commissioners, and he graciously looked at it, and said, yeah, go ahead.
I've done this with towns of Dennis and towns of Sandwich. It's for some reason DEP wants to oversee every single thing that you buy and
Right. The last thing I would like to, I believe, as you know, we have an employee leave, was in the middle of it, I did an interview today, I did one yesterday, we're trying to do interviews now, we're having trouble with people calling back for interviews. It's tough out there now, and because of this, we put an extra added, I guess, put a lot of the work on the two guys' shoulders that are there, that are originally, they're supposed to work every third week. And they're doing either every other or two in a row, then the other guy's doing two in a row. I'm really restricting their time. And they're getting really tired. Really, really tired. And they came over, had a little discussion with me and asked them, there was a way that, would make them feel a little better about it. And, they agreed that if we give them a little monetary, they'd be happy. And it would take a little of the burden off so that they couldn't go someplace to do. So what I'd like to do is right now, we give them a 2-hour minimum on weekends to do the checks. I'd like to increase that to a 3. Basically, it's giving them 3 hours for taking the call all day Sunday and all day Saturday. And they have to come in and do the change of charts or pumping stations, come in. The work usually takes almost 2 hours anyways. For them to leave the house, by the time they leave the house, come in and get back to the house, it's quite a while. I believe we have the money in the budget to do it because we don't have a third employee right now. It's all one big thing. But I just like you guys to be aware that if something happens in the end and we go over, this is the reason why. And I might have to ask one of you to go to a meeting and say, hey, we need to have this much more money put in. We're going to run out. I really doubt that.
My only question, are you suggesting that's a 2 hour job, we actually pay them for 3 hours, is that essentially the proposal?
It is, and yes, they don't really, they get paid, 2 hours per day on the one, for just coming in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess I'm just wondering if that's could put us in a weird place, because we're essentially, billing more hours than we're working. And I'm wondering if there's another way to do it. I mean, we have flexibility on an overtime rate, maybe? I don't know.
well, we could, the only other thing we could do is until we have somebody else that's gonna be on call, increase the week long, right now they get $250 to carry the phone.
Oh, yeah.
If
I don't
you
know.
put that,
Increase that
if you put it up to $350 a week, it's about $100, within, for a couple hours all the time for the guys. I mean,
Well, yeah, my concern is we're gonna burn one or both out, find ourselves in real trouble. If they're filling in, the gap of the third employee.
Yeah.
It's two doing the work of three. I want to make sure we're fair. What's our overtime exposure now?
we have, we considered it as, what is it, 103 days at a new person's rate? Which,
104 hours.
hours, I'm sorry.
Is that what you're saying?
days, Yeah,
Okay.
hours, and they kind of split it by three, each guy's
Right.
rate by three, thinking John was gonna be here at the time, we had his rate in there. Plus 80 hours for the year.
So that's included in there. So we calculated, 2 hours per day each weekend times 52 weekends. We calculated the 13 holidays. We added in 80 additional overtime hours to cover my time at the Board of Water Commissioners meeting, to cover plowing or any leaks or things that they got called out for. Took that total number of overtime hours and divided it by 3. And then, so that came out to 104 overtime hours for each of the 3 employees. And then we priced it out at their rates.
Yeah.
Obviously, the 2 senior operators are earning the same rate of overtime pay. The other 104 hours were at the junior operators rates, and the difference between the overtime rates was about $23 per hour. So right now, we're saving $1,000 a week in salary for that third employee, and we would be spending an additional 116, I believe, in overtime.
So there's still a net savings then, is that right?
Yeah, it's
Still a
all one
net
bundle.
savings. And even when we do hire that third employee, it's gonna take them 3 months to get up to speed
Get trained.
before they're able to be on call, so there'll still be a period of time where even when we start spending that salary, we would continue to pay additional overtime to those 2 operators that are doing on call. But the salary surplus and the overtime excess would wash each other out. We would, unless some big emergency
Do
happens.
their contracts, so a certain number of weekends is not coming?
No, our handbook states that they will rotate it with the assistant superintendent, the senior operators, and the junior operator.
Yeah.
They'd be on a rotating basis. So it puts down 3 people to rotate it on. There isn't a third person to rotate it on now, and as they said, when Brian died, that's when it stopped. Then, you got Sean in there, and Sean only lasted so long. Then you got John in there, and then you had to wait. I mean, they sat down and said, we put in an extra 1,000 hours, in the last 3 years, basically. They've been back and looked at it, how many weeks they've been on and everything else. They're just like I said, in the beginning, it's, I'm making great money. After a while, it's, my God, I can't do anything. I'm trying to, as you said to me, one of them was like, my wife wanted to go on a whale walk Monday. I couldn't even take the day off because I knew we were too busy.
Well, we're on call. I'm on call. I can't go.
My future, something.
Yeah.
Well, to me, if 2 people are doing the work of 3, we have money in the budget, it's issue that we don't wanna lose the 2 good guys that we have. we should be able to compensate them a little bit more. Extra burden. If the overtime budget needs to be split in two instead of three, we'll do that and we'll figure out the third piece later this year.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'm thinking about, if we are getting the job done with 2 people instead of 3, and the 2 people are not billing the number of overtime hours at the third person, is that correct? Then,
No,
no?
I think you're talking about the overtime rate, not number
Oh,
of.
forget about.
So
the
it's still gonna split the same number of overtime hours, but those hours were budgeted at different payroll
Let me
rates.
say it a different way then.
Okay.
I mean, it's about 2,000 hours a year, right, for a full-time job, 2,080, I
Yep,
think is the right
2080.
number. So that's 6,000 hours to get, run into those 3 positions.
Yeah.
If we don't have one of those people, are the 2 people that are remaining working 6,000 hours?
Regular salary hours, no, they're
So
working.
I
at
guess the
regular-
question is, how are we getting the job done?
We're scraping by.
I'm sorry.
We're scraping, we're letting things, general maintenance that we would do.
Yeah.
Paint hydrants, you know, the things that we can do
Yeah.
usually with that
Exercising
third
kids.
person. Operating the gates, you know,
Yeah.
all the preventive maintenance stuff is not getting done right.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
that's my concern, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah,
You
and
can
that's,
give them a rate that makes sense, I think we should
Yeah.
compensate them. But I'm a little more worried even about, you know, what's going on, we're falling behind on stuff, I mean, if we need three full-time people. And we've got 2 people who aren't doing the job of 3-time people, then something's not getting done.
Yeah.
Or we don't need 3 full-time.
Or you're
people.
putting those operators at risk in a position where they would
Right.
normally have 2 people on a job, but now that they.
that's the thing, I mean, right now, you know, we have the chlorine system. Any repair that has to be done, we require that there's 2 people there.
Yeah,
You don't want you don't want one person trying to do something and get hit in the eyes with chlorine or anything like that, you know, so you have to have 2 people there to help. And for safety reasons, so something else is just getting lacked off or pushing to later on. I mean, what I'll say is, they're working the butts off right now, and yeah, and they're still doing it with a smile on their face when they see a customer. But it's not always smiling when they're back at the office.
Did Bob hire your?
I don't know.
I'm not positive. I was gonna give Craig a call and ask him if I could have his cannabis list that he didn't. Because I think, I gave you what, 8 people?
You gave me 7 and one of them was going back to school in the
Yeah.
fall and not able to work full time.
And out
I
of the 6,
called
we've only had 3
6,
people.
And only 3 have called me back to schedule their interview.
Nobody in America wants to work. It's,
We're trying,
that's a problem.
yeah.
See it. Hey, boy. The towns, schools.
And it's an entry level position. It's not a highly qualified, you do have to live locally, have a driver's license and get your licenses in 2 years, but it's an entry level position, which has been a stumbling block for some people. They're like, I can't do it.
Is-
Yeah, the first interview I did, the guy said, it's cut and paper, me, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah,
And he's traveling to Weymouth every day.
yeah.
I'm like, you could travel to, 6 minutes instead of, an hour. I'll get stuck with stuff like that. He works for Clean Harbors, this guy.
Yeah.
So I was like, geez. But today I had a younger gentleman who, was excited about the salary and everything. He's like, oh, that'd be nice. Yeah. And, it's just a matter of, if he's a fit. Sure.
And we've got another one on Friday.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it's still gonna be a 3-month period.
I'm
Before,
not opposed to, basically your suggestion, trying to give these guys a little more compensation, just not sure the best way to do it, that's all.
I think we like Chris.
What's that?
I think we should let Chris. figure it out.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe so.
I mean, if you give us a number and a proposal and,
All right, what did we say it was about the 2 hours overtime would be around 100?
$116 a weekend.
If we up the on-call, 125 right now until. until until the new person comes on, and we'll lower it back down to that. And this would only be on the basis of, while they're doing it time to time. And I will, if you guys will vote on that, I can let Lisa know that right away. And she can change it in the payroll.
And you're saying until the new hire is ready to go on call or
Correct.
until we hire?
No, I was ready to go on call, so I don't want them to go. What happened was this last time, was the guy who left the day he was supposed to go on call.
Mhm.
Did exactly 3 months and came in and said, nope, I can't do it anymore. And left. So I guess I would say increase it to 375, that was it?
Mhm.
Yeah, 375 until we get a new hire. An available. I don't want to say it's
Until the new hire is eligible to go.
an
on.
eligible employee for. Fall.
So move. You want to put that into a motion? No.
I got it.
Second.
All those in favor of a temporary increase in compensation for weekend on-call at the discretion of the superintendent? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
And that completes my report.
thank you. How are you guys doing in the heat?
Are we doing that?
How are you doing in the heat?
I mean,
The
Working.
workers out in the.
Yeah, you know, we got air conditioning in the station set mostly, so when you're doing something in there,
As those pumps are.
the guy that was impressed that came down to do some work the other day, we replaced the pump, and he said, he goes, you invite me down on the hottest day of the year to go on one of these pumping stations that's running. I said, we got AC in it, it's split unit down there. He's like, what? He goes, you're the only water pump I've ever been in, that's air conditioning in the pumping station.
I saw from the warrant today that you had to sell.
Yeah, that was at
Air
the
conditioning.
office.
Yeah.
So that'll be probably an appropriation for next
Yeah,
year.
next year, we've got a couple things for
That
next
year,
year.
that HVAC.
After we got everything done, our AC went, the guy went in and said, yeah, they don't even make that unit anymore, and that one's there, it's gonna die any minute.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't you come to me 2 months ago and tell me
Right.
this?
He had to put some like spray in one of the hoses to seal the hose, because they don't even make that hose anymore. MacGyver, bubble gum and paper
But
clips.
that's something that's gonna require 3 pricings and everything else to replace, so
Sure.
I'll have to get next spring, 3 different quotes, so I know how much to ask for.
Shall we move on to old business? Commissioner Horsley.
Sure.
PFAS in-home product book outreach.
So I can give a quick update on both of these first 2 items. First of all, on the PFAS outreach, Jen, I asked you before the meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, we only had 1 person respond to the little notice in its currents, the
One person.
publication. We responded with that, article so
Yeah.
that didn't yield a lot of response. The student that I had working on the pamphlet did get a full-time job, so she is no longer available to do further edits. So if we want to proceed with the pamphlet further, and we have 2 versions, you may recall, one that Jen drafted and one that was revised by a student, we need to find somebody else to do the additional edits to it. So that's where that stands. On the test wells, I mentioned just earlier that we did we're gonna send, I guess, the PFAS numbers to Mark Nelson on.
Does he want all the, just that one there? or-
I'm not, you should call him first.
Yeah, I got to
I'm
call
not
him,
sure.
and
I
I'll
think
find out which ones he wants, because we do have those
Yeah,
all.
but I would also think that we may want to get Tom back in here at some point, Tom Cambereri. Because, just to talk about the status of the test well programs, for example, do we want to go back and resample we did find a relatively high value at that well near the, I don't know how we describe it.
Yep.
What's the?
Yeah, I'm not.
Marinus Serpent, that's a good way to put it. So it might be worth resampling that.
High
because-
value of what?
I'm sorry?
Of
PFAS, yeah. I think it was 9 nanogram, which is, elevated. Mark Nelson did mention that if we hit a certain level, I can't remember if it's 10 or probably 20, it becomes reportable. Which means we have to send it to DEP and
Even though it's not in the water supply.
even though it's not correct. Which is why a lot of people don't go out and do the sampling, which I think is ridiculous. So I would vote that we continue to do it, even if we have to. But I think we should, Tom's the guy that's been doing the work for us, so my suggestion would be to get him back in here. Maybe at our next meeting and ask him to give us an update on what he sees as next steps and whether it makes sense to resample that, et cetera. But there's 2 items here, so I guess we go back to the outreach pamphlet. What do you guys think about that? Do we want to keep pushing this?
Well, I think it's too general, it's too scary, it's not offering me helpful information. Other than PFAS is everywhere and it's a problem, we want to be able to tell people. I mean, to me, the biggest thing is get yourself a filter in your own house. And that's the solution to the our responsibility is drinking water supply, not the Teflon cookware and everything else. So, I mean, that should be the message of any pamphlet. Educating them that what it is, it's a problem. What can you do about drinking water?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. My hope was that we could get them focused on, source reduction.
Well, we can't because we don't know what kind of toilet paper to recommend.
Well, there is, we did,
Have to use
yeah.
toilet.
didn't we? Still remembering that I thought we did some guidance on some products, including toilet paper. Am I remembering that correctly?
There was a website that you sent me the link for that we shared with the one. No. I can help.
Oh, yeah, the state.
Yeah,
There's some, it's not ideal, it's not perfect, and yeah, I mean, maybe we could
Mass.gov.
put both messages there if they're concerned about it. And we are meeting the standards, and you said that in the piece that you wrote, Dave.
I don't think it needs to be as slick as I saw. That looked like somebody that took it off the shelf and put Couture on it. I think it just needs to be an insert with a bill that says, you've probably heard about PFAS. It's in lots of household products. Here's a link to the state site that can give you more information about other things you can do, but the main thing that the Couture Water Department recommends, if you're concerned, get a British filter.
Yeah.
Right, and tell them where our levels are. I had the raid, this woman came from California for a monthly visit to the Cape in the summer, and she said she was waiving the water quality.
Yeah.
And she says, looks like you guys are over. I tried to explain it to her. It's not easy to read.
it's not.
It's really not easy to read. I was having a hard time explaining it to her. I said,
Yeah.
we are meeting the standards. And she
Right.
says,
Right.
doesn't look like it to me. Well, she's an intelligent person. I think we don't display information as well that's user friendly. I've said that about that pamphlet for years, and I don't know how to fix it because it's a D.
Right.
So if we can do a supplement that is simple and understandable, like labels, that.
Well, since we no longer have assistants, I will say, I will attempt to maybe get it done, but I can't promise it at this point. I'm pretty booked for the next few weeks.
It's
Yeah,
just even
figure that-
just a black and white bullet pointed.
Yeah.
Insert is something to do as a placeholder for people that have, justified concerns.
Okay, and then I
We don't
guess,
have to endorse Brita, but we could endorse. I mean, although, that needs to be thought of. I mean, are we really telling people that you have to get a water filter because we can't guarantee.
Well, that's my concern about that message, right? We are meeting standards, so theoretically, there's no need for a Brita filter, right? But the idea of the source water protection is if there are sources in our well fields, which I believe there are.
But that's a long-term thing.
It is a long term thing,
People are concerned now. So they for media.
but we're meeting standards. So I guess we gotta be concerned. My theory is we gotta be concerned with the messaging, because we are meeting standards. But if we tell people we're meeting the standards, and if you're concerned, go put a filter on, it's kind of a mixed message, isn't it?
So maybe the best thing to do is to do nothing.
That's my sense, and also given that EPA routinely, in any change of administration, depending on the outcome of the election, we could see on February 1st. That the April EPA limits suddenly go back up again. And then we're whipsawing before.
Yeah.
Populace. I don't like. Yeah, again, we're okay now. We're in compliance. But if you want to help them, I'm glad to.
Okay, thank you. Well, what do you think about getting Tom here for the next meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do that then. Jen, can you reach out to him? And that's all I've got, Dave, for updates on those two items.
Commissioner Robinson, conservation restriction. And the town of Barnstable retained portion of the school property.
Yeah, I mean, I come more with questions than answers. As I said in my July 8th memo or email, where is it? Oh, it's a lot of passing point here.
Don't those get filed with the registry of deeds?
It's nowhere near ready to be filed with the registry of deeds. It has to go through the state review process. And that's gonna take months and months and months and months. So have they sent it up to the state? Did they be the town?
Who would know at the town? Lindsay?
Well, this Dave Anthony is the property
Oh,
manager.
yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of authority, really, versatile. So probably the legal department, I don't know. But, you know, I'm not chasing it. They asked me for help and then they didn't provide me with any information beyond that. What I really want to talk about was what former Commissioner Tom Hoppenstad brought up to us in the past month regarding the parking on the ball field where the kettle area is, and if that's a water quality issue. In the
Parking,
past,
does it say? Parking?
park.
Yeah.
And in the past, you know, the overflow from the kettle area parking lot was the shoulders of the entrance drive to the school. And I never went down far enough to see if they were parking on the asphalt by the gym.
So they did. I've seen, yeah.
Okay, so, and then July 2nd, I went out and counted 200 cars that were being waved in, like there was Woodstock concert going on. And it was just, it was crazy. They were, you know, rows and rows of cars. And so that's what I think Tom was bringing to our attention. And the question is, does the conservation restriction say anything about that? Does the town even know the Cavaliers are doing that? I am a big Cavalier fan. I've got 2 interns in my house this summer. So I'm here not to bury the Cavaliers, but to say that I don't think 22 games a year, people parking there for 2 hours, even if it's 200 cars, is a water quality concern. Most cars people drive around here are modern cars, they're not leaking oil. And so likelihood of a catastrophic car fire and a gasoline release is minimal. So for 45 to 60 hours a year, I think it's something that we just say is, you know, we don't have to get involved in it. But I'm more interested in the use of the field for is this gonna be a precedent for all sorts of other things? Like spheres and, all the other things. Or is it just kind of a one-off because there was 2,000 people in the game that day?
I think we're gonna see more use of either the fire district's portion of the property and the town, not less. There's a lot of satellite parking needs for things that happen in the center of the village, craft fair, you've got.
The 5K, what they were all parked in the field.
Were they parked in the field then too?
Christmas and Katuah goes on and on.
There's just low parking in this village. And don't forget, this is a result of the police ticketing 50 cars at the beginning of the last season for the killers.
And the current Civic Association newsletter is a reminder saying there's no parking on the shoulder on Main Street.
I think it was actually touting, we're doing a great job getting them all the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to, attorney, see what the status of the conservation restriction is. See, do we know what's in it? And I think we need to know what's in. Do we have a conservation restriction on the fire district? Because I think the ad hoc committee needs to know that. I went to one of their earlier meetings, I think their second meeting, and said a couple things that you may want to keep in, you may want to consider. If you tear it down and restore it to a natural state, you're gonna get rid of the paving. If not, and you decide to repave, you're gonna look at permeable surface,
Yeah,
so on and so forth. Have you talked to the fire department and the police department about the need for a pass through between Old Oyster and Main Street, etc.? And they hadn't thought, so I think that's why Pat came tonight to ask us for some.
Right now as a pass through, there aren't a lot of people doing it now, but the ones that do got fast.
Sure.
And there are 2 blind corners coming around the gym.
Mhm.
And you don't know if some kids out there shooting hoops, if they rickety old basketball.
We walk it every day.
You
The
do.
cars fly through there.
was Tom concerned, do you think, potential like oil spill leaks in the cars or something? Yeah. So I mean, it's better to have that happen on pavement than not, right?
Are there state regulations for zone 2 usages around parking lots or anything like that? Yes. It's only like again, a junkyard.
The stormwater regulations, do identify high volume parking lots as a land use of pollutant potential. I forget what the term is within zone 2 areas. So there is, but it has, I forget the cutoff, but it's probably bigger than what we're talking
Well,
about.
it's probably a huge paved parking lot that has drainage
Yeah,
into catch basins that might be leaching
well,
down.
that would, see, right now,
We don't have,
right, my guess, and this might be go back to Patty's question, right? Because if it's most of our catch bases are infiltrating catch basins, meaning they go right into the ground. You can put in a regular catch basin as a bottom on it, then overflows to an infiltration system. And the advantage of that is if you have a spill, it'll capture it in the. But again, how do you know that happens? I guess is the question. Somebody would have to report it, go look for it in the catch basin. I suppose if it was a real big leak, somebody would know that and report it, but I don't know. I mean, it's a good point he's making. I'm just not sure how big of a threat it is and what we can do about it.
Do we know what the plan is for that field?
It's the town. I believe the fire district's portion of the property is very well field. When we go
Right.
to the temporary classrooms and
I think it didn't get voted.
And not by the district. And not by the district.
So the town plan on keeping it as a field or they
Yeah.
put more tennis courts in?
I think they're gonna
I
keep
mean,
it.
now with the pickleball's out. This is the next best thing to look to eliminate.
What they said at the meeting was that the town would decide how they're gonna renovate their portion of the field after the district decides what they're gonna do with the school building portion. so that it can go hand in hand.
Okay.
But if they do demolish the school and pave that, would that relieve the parking issue? Or they wouldn't be parking on the field, they would park on the pavement.
You know, maybe the thing we should look into
What they want.
is, I'm sorry, maybe the thing we should look into is. These infiltrating catch basins within our zone 2 areas. I mean, maybe we should think about trying to get those upgraded. Just because they are direct.
Yeah.
Not only a spill, but every time, there's a lot of pollutants and stormwater runoff, and it's going right into those infiltrating catch basins now. So maybe we should think about trying to upgrade that to a reasonable next step. Try to get some treatment and capture.
So most of that runoff goes into the scooped out basin near the tennis courts. Because there's a little slope from the parking
Right.
all the way.
Yeah, yes,
We
yeah,
used to say we all lived in the yellow submarine school bus, when we went through that puddle. Right there. All the kids got scraping, they were still high on the bus.
Rains really hard, that basin overflows and.
It's a lake.
Yeah.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah.
That would be the place, that's actually more of a concern to me as a water commissioner than people parking on the field.
Mhm.
stormwater runoff, infiltration, yeah.
I mean, and that's just, that was the lowest common denominator, fix to the
Yeah.
puddling on the driveway.
And I think that is, and the thing that I was talking about earlier that I did right for the school, I think that was one of the things that I identified was like a bioretention treatment area in that area where the puddle is. Pretty logical, it's a low spot. Be relatively easy to design and build something there that would provide some
I
treatment.
think they've got like a 6-inch pipe under the side.
Yeah.
Well, who's been paying for the stormwater stuff around, Hooper's Landing and Town Dock?
That's a APCC grant.
That's APCC stuff.
I went, where they got the money, I can't remember, maybe it's coastal pollution remediation.
That's yeah. Yeah, I asked down about that was pink water, they got that.
They got grants, couple, 2 or 3 years in a row.
I think that was Obama stimulus.
Yeah. Anything else on the conservation restriction?
No, but if you can get your hands on it, I'd be happy to
I will,
look at it with you.
I will ask Attorney Noguet, someone in my office.
No rep digs, they must still be in session.
Hmm?
No rep digs.
No updates?
Will still be in
Okay,
session.
then we can jump ahead to when Commissioner also returns to minutes. Let's see. We're gonna move on to review and approval of prior meeting minutes. Jim, what would be best, if we take these one at a time, or can we do them all at once?
Either is fine as long as you identify all of them by date.
And I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes for the April 18th Civic Association presentation, the April 17th regular meeting, the May, I read it, 15th Zoom meeting, and June 18th regular meeting.
Here, a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Ah,
And Scott, they are all for you to sign.
All Scott, right? Yeah. Oh, you should.
Oh, I got to sign them.
You had a call. Yeah, you had a call when you left.
Oh, did I? Okay, oh, all right.
This is the 416 meeting. 417 meeting. Meeting,
Making you feel.
One more, right? It's almost like you should have a mortgage. 618 meeting and you are no longer chair.
Welcome to your new home.
Right, I'm signing a morning.
I just go here.
Are we, what happened to Diggs? What about Diggs?
No, we have to set a new
We're
date.
waiting, he's not on.
No
right?
rep digs, he must still be in
So we'll-
session.
We'll move on to
Okay.
matters not anticipated by the chair. Let's see, I've got one thing, which popped up, which is, the revisions to the annual report for
Oh, yeah.
fiscal year 2023. I found one typo
Okay.
that didn't get caught. But if the commissioners have any other corrections, I suggest we funnel them through Jen to pass along to.
Sure. Yeah.
Then on that, there was one question that Jen raised about the accounting of the water meter fees as
Yes,
revenue and not stabilization fund.
yes.
Is that the first time you've ever done that, made that mistake? Because the bylaws are pretty explicit.
Well, it's a relatively new stabilization fund. And I'm not sure how it was listed in the report. The answer is it's not in that report, it's in the treasurer's report. So I don't know if going forward they will break it out separately, but the total balance is in the monthly treasurer's report, and I think for the meeting the other night, it was up somewhere around 211,000 in that account, and I did see the balance of the USDA account, and I can't remember what that, like, that's like 71,000, I think.
Yeah, we take some out of it.
Yeah.
So, fellow commissioners, were you around when the stabilization fund was first enacted?
Yeah.
This comp stuff.
Okay. And that's basically our rainy day fund. But we can't spend it without approval of 2/3 of the
Is that right?
voters.
So it has to go to a district meeting.
Correct.
Okay,
The
so
only thing we've spent out of that was when we bought the COVID vehicle, when we
Yeah.
bought an additional vehicle during COVID, so that nobody was
Yeah,
traveling.
we
Yeah,
got spent from,
Yeah.
that was done.
it's done.
Yeah, done.
but we can't crack that. It's like emergency fund. We have to find a use for it, put it forward and not.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
It's, I think, more capital expenses as well.
yeah. To stabilize the tax rate. Pretty big
Uh,
expense.
And then finally, I wanted to get the commissioner's thoughts about asking town councilor Burdick to come talk to us about this CWMP. I listened to the fourth water workshop that was done with an update on CWMP. And what I came away from was there's no plan to do it. And one of the gentlemen is, forget his name,
Rob Steen.
Rob Steen, was talking about alternative solutions, which I think would fit into a source water.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just, one, I would encourage you to
Yeah.
watch that on YouTube if you have, because it's kind of sobering and I think
Yeah.
it ties into source water.
Yeah, it does. And I have talked with Rob about that question about what's happening in Katuitt and specifically with Mariners Circle. Which I think is that part of Katuitt officially? I mean, certainly in our zone
Yeah.
too. And he did say that is on the, not phase 3, but I forget what they call it, there's a stage 2. Which
There's a
it's
phase and a
confusing.
stage.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
phases and stages. And the stages timing is uncertain, whereas the phases are 10 years each supposedly.
Right.
So I think Mariners Circle's on the stage thing, which means it's uncertain. But he and I did talk about it, and we talked about the pros and cons of doing IA upgrades to the septics there. At that point in time, it looked like it was much more cost effective to do the septics than sewer it. But sewering would remove all the wastewater, so there's an advantage to that. So the only thought I had, I think it's a great idea, Dave. The only thought I had was maybe we could get Rob to come.
Sure.
Instead of, I mean, Seth, I think I can say this without insulting Seth, this is not his expertise. And Rob wrote the damn plan, he's very good at it, he might be willing to come, he likes going out and. So I
Yeah, I
could
was-
reach out to him if he'd like,
That'd be
see if
great.
he'd be interested, because I have a pretty good dialogue with him. Yeah,
But I think
Okay.
that could help us, sharpen the pencil on.
Yeah.
Source water, if we can get the enabling legislation.
okay, sure, yeah. I'll reach out.
That's it. Any matters on the agenda? Additional public comment?
Not online.
Shall we set the next date? Who's have a Representative Diggs?
No representative days.
Um,
So the next would be the 21st to the
21st?
8/21.
Okay.
What?
it looks good to me.
Yep.
21st.
21st,
Might be too soon, 28th. You can do the 28th. I can do the 28th.
Will you so? Yeah,
It's good.
Good.
yes, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you very much.